Good morning, Helen Grace. Good morning. Good evening sa inyo. Rondan Gini, official, thank you. Good morning. Good evening sa inyo, no? Thank you for coming. Ang pangalan nito, lilista ko eh. May iraraffle ko mga kaya kailangan ko ilista. Pero sino yung mga nandito? Helen Grace. Rowan. Dandani official. Oh, oh. October is our autumn here. Yan. Autumn pa lang sa amin yan. Thank you guys sa pagtambay. Kagigising lang eh. Mag-aalmusal muna tayo guys. Kagigising lang. Ingat kayo diyan, guys. Malamig sa amin dito. Ang dami. Hi, Mary Ann. Mary Ann, hello. Tambayan mo na kita, ma'am. Thank you so much, Mary Ann. Flor Delita, thumbs love, Sisi. Wala akong upload kaya nag-live. Kagigising lang, day of today. Mamaya pa ako gagawa ng upload. Maraming gagawin sa loob ng bahay. Ngayon lang nakapag-day off eh. Bagong gising. Thank you so much sa ninyo, support, sa mga support niyo guys. Si Mary Ann. Kahinta. Flor Delita. Ang ganda ng boses nito ni Flor Delita talaga. Pwedeng pang-concert eh. Nandun ako sa niya eh, tinignan ko yung niya, yung sabi niya mag-aano siya ng title ng songs. Pinuntahan ko maganda eh. Rowan Dangani, official. Napanood ko na yung mo, yung video mo. Helen Grace Gador, thank you for coming. Nagtimpla muna tayo ng kape. It's mine is small. Wow. Sweetie, you take those you didn't put it in a bin, in one bin, but for the roses and cover up on the winter.
Probably, I have to cut them first.
But where did you put the leaves?
Most of them are still on the tree, it's just the ones from the front.
That's why I told you save the dry leaves and save it for
And all
the
the oak leaves.
and then don't cut too much the roses because it's dying.
It's not dying.
It's dying.
Did it die last year?
Yes, they
Oh.
are the small one in the corner. I told you.
What small one in the corner?
Besides of the pink one, the taller one, and this one is dying. That's why now it's starting just only a small. If they are not growing up, it's small until winter, until on next year, it's die.
No.
No any, no ka dyan. Hello, Pops Jen. Good morning. Thank you sa paharang. Sino to? Ismael, thank you. Thank you sa inyo, guys. Katabang Dave, good morning. Shabs, good morning. Shab, chat ka lang sa ano natin ha. I-check mo ko kung kailan ang ano natin dahil 7 and 21 days ba yon? Oo, good morning. Chat tayo mamaya para doon sa ating mga ano. Kasi malapit na, 'di ba? Mag-aano na tayo, malapit na. Umpisa na tayo ngayon eh, malapit na eh. Sa 21, cut off na yan eh. Kaya kailangan mag-anuhan na tayo niyan. Mag-anuhan na, alam mo na yun. Para hindi tayo ano. Hi, Try Vlog! Good morning! Bunso, how are you, Bunso? Mamaya puntahan ko kayo ha. Shabs and Try Vlog. Thank you so much, Try Vlogs. Puntahan ko kayo mamaya. Kaya, oh good. Sounds great. Oh, ingat-ingat. Take good care all the time. Yan. Mamaya, Shabs, PM kita. PM kita mamaya. Pero sis,
Ayan,
good morning. Oh, as usual, busy.
oo.
Magkakitaan ko. Yan. Tapos mga bata.
Ano ang sa akin ang eh?
Ano na, quarter to 11 na.
Ate, bukas na lang, pagkano magsubo?
Oo. Problem.
Bukas na kami bibigyan. Kasi may mga nagbigay ng pagkain na mahapon.
Oo, talaga. Sige, yan.
Alam mo naman, hindi naman pwede pwede kanya. Pero yung pala mo criticism ko,
Oo, exactly.
mas magkana din. Kasi alam mo ba naman magkano niya? Kaya lang ako magustuhan. Kaya lang, dahil niya matamang kami, pinapangan niya, dalawang lang siguro lang pati.
No problem, sis.
Tapos, I will let you know, meron ako ni Alma gabi, gabi ko. So, ang sabi niya, nagkakaroon ako sa laptop ko nag-exercise na ako. Kaya nagbabasa ako. Kaya, gabi ko wala akong gloves.
Oh, sige lang.
Sabi niya, kasi pinagpipilitan ko ang di ba, na
Hindi, nakausap ko rin si Sarah, ay si Ara. Sige, go ahead.
Okay, sabi niya, sabi niya kasi kahit daw naganda daw nila ng pinangagal daw niya. Sabi ko kasi ako wala ko pinag-usa. Lalagyan siya ng panty, sabi ko lang,
So, blue pants, di ba?
sabi yung
Sabi sa kanya.
Kulang sa ako ko yun. Kasi ako ang minsan na yung magdadagdag sa sa kanya. Kaya ako talaga ako is ever since ako panty at yan ano tawag ito?
Blue.
Never gumamit ng orange sa kanya sa kasi nga, tinatanggalin ko orange siya makapal din.
Correct, oo, ng ano siya. Nagyan din ang makali, saka nakaka.
Hindi sa kanila daw, ang tawag dito, yung panty daw is nalatagdag kasi payat na daw siya. Sabi ko, okay. Kung yun ang gusto nila, di ba? Ngayon, basta sabi ko, ako, I will pakdo yung shirt nila. Tapos basta shift daw nila, lahat daw lalagay nila. Bahala sila.
Wala akong pakialam kung yun ang gusto nila kasi nakausap ko si Tara kahapon. Ngayon, kinausap ni Tara si Sunam. Ngayon, sabi nga daw ni Sunam, yun nga raw pusa. Pero, ay lalagay ko pa rin, kung ano yung nandun sa board, yun pa rin. Ang sabi sa akin ni Tara, do whatever the best for Marlene. Okay? Kasi magtutog na tayo niyan, tatanungin tayo eh. Oh, ikaw ang night shift, ako ang day shift, right? Yes, exactly. Sila ang matatalo dyan. Kasi, tulad yan, yung asawa, di ba, mahilig yung magkaroon yung asawa kapag nag-pulsa. Kasi basa na yung hindi na control ni basa na yung pants. Maraming trabaho, tatanggalin mo yung sapatos, tatanggalin mo yung pants, papalitan mo pants, sometimes there's no pants dahil nasa laundry. Ngayon, nag-suggest pa rin ako kay Tara, sabihin ko sa'yo. Sabi ko kay Tara, ita night shift, sabihin mo dun sa night shift, suotan na yan ng kasi gumagala, alam ni Tara, sinabi ko sa kanya, sabi ko, Tara, according to the report, Marlene is going to other station naked because they took away the pads or
Parang umaga, si Osmo. Naked daw yan, sabi niya.
Kita mo na?
Ni Ronnie, sinabi nila sa akin. Kasi ang deliver ko na daw kayo kung wala ako is pera. Ngayon, sabi ako na yan na dapat ikanda, di ba? Kasi pera. Ngayon, meron ako gabi, ay kanina umaga daw, hanggang umaga, Nga daw, may daw nagkatakan. So, yun, kaya meron daw sila.
Sis, hayaan mo lang. I-report nila yan. Pagka ganyan, ang Station 1 and Station 2 ang magre-report na dyan. Administrator ang dating niya, hindi intindi.
Ayun, so sa akin, yung kung ano yung ginagawa ko, nabilisan siya.
Yes, regular ka sis, dahil magtutuma tayo. Oo.
Sabi nga niya, Akash, sabi niya, you're changing her. Sabi ko, yun naman talaga eh. Kasi nga daw, yung nga daw, nung daw sa gabi na nung sa umaga nga daw, natin. So, natin siya. Kasi, nasaligaga nga siya. Yun, so, nakakagawa din si Akash kasi, alam niya physical dahil gawa nga nung kaya mo tulungan niya siya to assist siya, di ba? Ngayon siya nagpapantay kay Marley, nausap niya sa lounge. So, di siya na, pero sa question pala, please na siya. So, kung ganito na sila ko nakahanda, yun nga, kinausap niya ko dahil may yellow kita kay Marley na. Marley, tapos pangalawa, yung anak daw ni Luisa nagreklamo daw sa sabon. Sabi ko,
Ayan na.
Sabi ko, ay daw, kaya daw, nagyan daw niya anak. Sabi niya, ano gusto mo sa namin? Oy, baga. Yung sabon ano na yan, parang 2 weeks na din na yan, di ba?
Kung hindi ko tinago, sis, hindi 2 weeks. Alam mo yan, sis, kaya ako tinago di ba?
Okay. Tapos, di sila nung ako lasa daw. Pinakita ko doon sa di ba, sa
taas.
Di ba, sa taas. Sabi niya, baka hindi nakita nung anak. Kasi nga doon natin, doon mo tinapon. Ngayon, may hinahanap na daw na sabon. Sabi niya, yung sinasabi mo sabon, hindi na naubos siya. Sabi niya, that was apat, bumasan mo.
No. Last 2 weeks lang. Dalawa yan.
Sa atin.
Ginamit nga nila, 1 week pa lang, wala na sis, bago yun, ako lang doon.
Meron pa nga, meron. Sabi na kasi yung blue.
Yung green. Oo, yung green sis, dalawa yung green na yan eh. Yung una medyo konti na lang green. Yung unang green, talagang wala na.
Basta hindi ko lang pinapalagay ng green. Kasi yung blue, sabi niya, sabi niya, I know, sabi niya, kasi iba daw kayo ang pinong. No, ito daw kasi kung ginawa natin sila
Oo.
Kumbaga, hindi tayo na uubos, di ba?
Oo.
Kaya, so, kanina na sa reporting ko din, sinabi na niya, siya yata, tapos ano ka na.
Good. Yan, madadali sila dyan. Sige na. Yan, makakarating yan sa administrator pagkama niya ng family. Ha?
Yun, so, yun yung, basta, pinausap na ako sa wala ka masasabi sa akin. Sinabihan lang niya ako na ako nga sa lunch yun. Sabi ko lang kasi gawa nga ng ako. Nagkakawala ng school. Yun, so, yun nakita niya. So, basta nasa report ba? Pinakit ko gabi, pinakit na umaga.
Okay. Kasi ngayon sa inyo rin, pinakikiyalaman, nakita ko nila nasa ibang room. Sabi ko, kinuha ko, hindi ko ito, nakalagay doon, Margaret, do not touch.
Di ba? Ang tawag ito, isip yung pinagdagalaw ba? Hindi ko alam yun. Si Virgin, hindi ka kayo nagkapiin.
Hindi yan talaga si Virgin, nung hindi ako si Virgin, kahit nakita na sa ibang room, nahuli na minsan, pero ano pa rin siya, matigas. Wala ko si Virgin, simulan ng ulo. Kaya yung sinasabi ko na sis, di ba, ngayon, nagkakaano naman.
So, yun yun. Desperate yun, yan ang mga...
Basta magkatugma ang sasabihin natin na walang problema kay Marlene kapag sinusuotan ng at kung alam nyo na ng na yan, ginagawa namin, binibigyan kagad namin. Hindi nagkakaroon
Diba
ng
sa atin, bilang niya, kung ano daw ang say sa atin, kung nag-GP, okay sa atin, kung pag-apply tayo, kung programo tayo na lagyan siya ng break, at saka na go on, sabi niya. Sa tabi ko lang sabi. Sabi niya, okay.
Okay lang. Pagka nagkaroon ng problema ng skin, sasabihin ko.
Nabasahan doon.
Correct at yung bet.
Kaya ako sasabihin.
I-report ko na yan sa nurse, kaya tinanong ni Juliana, sabi ko, tingnan mo to ako, tingnan mo yung bed is wet, trying to put in the report, because pulls up. And then the pulls up is wet. Tingnan mo. Oh, kasi ginagamitan namin na ng pulls up, kaya ilang oras pa lang, tapos na, kumbaga, basang-basa na.
Tapos ito ate, itong, parang Indiana.
Oh.
Siya partner ko, maaari siya magdala. Hindi ko siya kilala, pero alam ko sabi niya, sabi niya, you're the one kasi siya yung nagkukulat ko kasi yun. Sabi niya, you're the, naiinig ka sa kanila, sabi niya, ang ginagawa ko is, even we're not asking, agad kung kailangan mo kong tulungan o hindi. So, kailangan lagay doon sa is ko assist at sarili ko nga sa kung silang gumawa agad.
18, by 18. Oh.
Yun, so, ako siya, tinanungan ko siya dun sa 350 na kasi ito as siya. Tapos,
Sino may sabi to assist?
No, yung 20 ate.
15?
28 to assist.
No. Hindi ako naniniwala. Alam ni Tara. Tingnan ni Tara kung paano mo ginawa. Kay Virgie lang ang assist.
Ito nga ate.
Sige.
Nandun kasi nasa board, doon sa meeting niya. Siya. So ngayon, tinanong ako ni Tara kanina. Kasi nga sa report na sa meeting.
Kaya alam ni Tara eh. Tara yan sa akin.
Sabi ni Tara sa akin, sabi niya, kung walang problem sa'yo, walang problem sa base, sabi niya. Kasi I saw Marilyn, ginawa mo nga daw. Kasi so sabi niya, so sa inyo, wala na problem. Kaya, i-follow the instruction, sabi niya. Alam din niya, dahil yung report niya, natulog mo.
Ang katarantado ng ibig gumagawa ng mga katarantaduhan ng ibig para lang mag-screw up, magulo ang nila to make an additional person that they hate the residents, Ayaw mo yung resident yan eh. Bakit sa akin, hindi siya nagaganyan. Alam ni Tara. Sabi ko na ni Tara, where's your resident? Sabi ko, I put it in the washing by myself. One assist. Then she said, who wants to go to bed? I put it in the bed. And then I said, you want to go to the washroom? Kasi kausap siya matino. Wala akong problema. Every time na nag-duty ako kay 15, there's no any problem. Kaya alam ni Tara yan.
Kaya na yan, si Richard din
Si Richard, yes. Kahit kay Omi as si Neil. Dati kasi sabi nila, ganito daw. Ganyan. Si Neil, nagagawa ko rin mag-isa. There's no any problem. Alam ni Tara yan. Sa akin, tahimik yung mga residente ko. Pag aggression sila, pag sumasagot na hindi maganda, straightforward, narinig nila Tara yan. Sabi ko, no, you need to go for washroom. Otherwise, you might be caught and then hit your head on the floor. Boom, kaboom, you're kaput, sabi ko. Then, natatawa sila Tara. Then, sumusunod sa akin, nakita ni Tara. I don't want you fall on the floor, okay? Sabi ko, let's go. Oo, ginanong ko, then nakita nila Tara. Go, nothing problem. Kahit si Valerie, siya in-assist niya si Virgie. Si Virgie lang hindi kaya ni Virgie, dahil gawa ng buwangan ni Virgie, sinasabayan. Kaya nag-hysteric ang mga residente. Kasi si Virgie, ang boses niya, ibang klase kung mag-approach, di ba? Pero pag in-approach niya ng maayos, si Richard, mabait talaga si Richard.
Kasi nga, nagiging siya bakit sa'yo,
Correct! Ano ka dyan? I absolutely agree. Approach in a nice way. Oo.
Papagsak ko ng coffee.
Yes! Yeah! Like that.
Tapos yung ko, tapos,
Kahit alam ni ano, ni Tara yan ang movement ko, kahit si Sheila, di ba sabi nila, nag-isip na si Sheila, blah, blah, blah. Kung hindi, iniiwanan ko tanghalian ng 5 to 3 or 10 to 3, nandun ako sa loob ng ano room niya, alam ni Tara, kung nakantayan ko before to shift. Oh.
sa washroom, ayaw tumayo. Hindi, sabi ko, diba, okay, so, yung dinala ng ko, tapos, bumalik ako na lang, tapos, balik namin, ito
True yan. Ganyan ang ginagawa ko, sis. Okay, nasa evening lang ang problema dyan kasi ginagawa ng mga evening parang barkada. Ang gusto ng mga evening kasi, oy, Richard, let's go to the washroom. Di ba ganyan ugali nila?
so, kasama,
Sis, pag talaga magdala ka ng protection mo, ha? Magdala ka ng protection sa sarili mo tulad yung mga gabi na yun.
wala na ganito ko lang ate. Hindi ako nagdala ng, ano ko yung gloves.
Kaya mamamadagyan ko na yun.
Pero nakasakit ako ng power.
Ano mo lang, itago na lang. Tapos, ngayon, alam ni Tara. Ano? Pangalawa, may re-report na si Alma dahil pupunta si Abby today sa office. Kasi group 7 siya hindi niya tinulungan at according to the report, ayaw ni Abby yun. Dahil si Abby is group 8, the first day of the day na siya hire sa Tuxedo, ngayon hindi daw siya tinulungan at according to the report, sabi hindi daw napalitan si Bernadette Lee, a residence hindi daw napalitan. Because of what? She needs assist, sabi ni Abby. Alam ni Abby, trabaho mo si Abby. Ngayon, itong Verity, isa rin, baka rin na-report yan. Dahil gawa ng nakikialam, nasa group 6 yan, nasa group 1 si Abby, nag-dictate siya kung anong gagawin, samantalang ako ang partner, ako, Abby, hands up ako dyan. If there's something happen to your resident, it's not my responsibility, okay? You are listening to other groups that they are not scheduled in this group, sabi ko. Yan ang sabi ko sa kanya. Kaya nagbubulo naman sila sa days at saka sa evening. Ha? Talagang hindi. Dahil gawa ng... Ha? Si Virgie, Si Pierre, sa akin. Si May, sa akin. Ninyo. Si Janet ang wala dyan dahil gawa ng 1 month vacation si Janet. Ibrahim. Si Kuya Mandy. Oo. Alam mo, sa totoo lang, sila ang gugulo. Sa totoo lang. Correct. Correct. Tama yan. Sabi ko sa'yo, sila nagbubulo eh. Itong mga anak ko, ang alikoras na ito nagkakari-harian dyan. Dahil gusto ko. Correct.
Then somebody, the regular, kasi sila nakakaalam.
Correct. Tama ko
Ayun, nagsalita ka nila siya nagkakarang tapos sa kaupon. Hindi siya nabubulman sa kanila.
Hindi, tama rin yan.
Kasi tahimik kami sa base, sa totoo lang, kahit bigay sa amin crap, pero nananahimik kami. Maayos na ng pagkakapos ang trabaho.
Kasi tingin ko pinupunan yung source nila talaga.
Uy! Naku, sila mahilig ano dyan ang siga. Ang sarap ko dyan sa mga yun, sabi ko sa'yo, sino ang alipores dyan na panay ang biga-biga, siga. O, ano nangyari? Dinabaya siya.
So ate, sabi daw ni Ruben, kinain na lang siya ng weekend na yung 3:15 na ang inaap.
3:15 ang inaak.
Yung dalawa.
Yung dalawa. It's okay. No big deal for me. Kasi bakit kay Virgin regular yun eh.
Yun, tinitwag lang kita. Sinabi niya sa'yo.
Then,
Hindi na makakasing nga na ate.
no big deal for me kasi ganito lang yan. Si Virgin hindi na rin kaya. Tingnan mo lagi behind 9 o'clock na napupunta sa dining room ang kanila. Kaya diyan na sila magkakatulog. Go for it. Ako sa akin walang problema, nakita mo naman. Di ba? Halos hindi naman nagkakagulo yung mga residente sa kanila, nagkakagulo.
Kasi ako naman, sabi ko nga, ako,
Naging kang baka kay Tara. Si Tara tinatanong ka ni Tara. You and me, walang problema. Kasi bakit? Kung ano yung mo, na-endorse mo, ganun din sa akin kasi. Walang problema eh. Kasi Marvel is regular. Sabi ko, I'm a regular too.
Kung kaya kanina doon, sabi ko, according to the
Ito pa magkakaalintikan dyan, sasabihin sa'yo. Pagka ganyan, sis, halimbawa, nagkaroon ng medyo si Marlene. Pagka minsan walang gamot doon, huwag mo lagyan para madali sila. Kasi bakit? Sabihin mo, pero nilagyan mo. Ka lang doon ng medication na meron sa drawer na binigay nila. Yun ang ilagay mo. Tapos, pagka sabihin mo, linagyan ko ng medication niya. Pero pag pareha lagay nila ng pusa, nagkasugat-sugat yan, diyan na sila magkakalimutan. Ganun lang, sis.
Bakit ba isang kasi isa lang?
Nakikinig siya kay sa mga alipores eh. Sabi ko sa inyo, itaro ng administrator eh. Ang unit coordinator eh. Si Tara nagsabi na rin dahil siya ang nurse namin sa days. Pinakinggan ba si Tara? Ang sabi ngayon sa amin ni Tara, ganito na lang ang gawin mo, kung ano yung komportable sa inyo na hindi maano si yun na lang gawin nyo. Sabi niya, sige kako, gagawin mo. Para walang di ba? Ngayon, pagka nagkasugat-sugat na, dyan na magkakalantigan ng mga nurse. Ang asawa niyan, masyadong demanding. Hindi lang. Padala na nga ako ng panty eh. Tapos ngayon, yan na nga. Pinapatungan nga ng panty. Oo. Ang mga hindi nag-iisip eh. Tapos sige lang. Kung ganyan lang naman, sige lang. Pagka nagkakagat yan, ayan na. Kosya ng sasabihin natin. Sinabi ko na sa inyo na mukhang allergy siya. Dahil pinakapa at pinakapag kapag nakatusa. Tapos tinatanggal niya. Kung nakapasa, natural. So, and wet yan. Hindi siya mapakali. Saka dati rising, di ba?
Yeah.
Kinakamot niya yung sa gilid eh. Makikita mo, hawak-hawak niya, tapos kakamutin. Sabi ko, ay, pusap pa na, kaya pa na nangahamot. Sabi ko, pero wala akong magagawa kung yan gusto nila. Pagka nagkaan mo ng skin problem, sila ang magproblema dyan, hindi tayo, di ba?
Yeah.
Simple arithmetic. Pagka yun ang itinigit nila, sabi ko nga, dapat blue pads, kasi nga ang blue pads, medyo maluwag yan, nakakaano din hangin, di ba? Ayaw nilang gawin, hindi ko for it. And then, eto na naman si 15, ayan na naman, meron silang pag sa akin, bihira lang ako mag-duty, point for lang niya kay Bergie. Ngayon, ayan na naman, sige lang. Yan ang gusto nila dito eh, di ba? Wala tayong problema dyan kung yan ang gusto nila, di ba?
Yes.
Basta tayo report na natin kung ano yung ano dapat, yun ang dapat. O ngayon, hindi pa yan ang ano nila, kala nila po sa ganung system. Si ano talaga, magsasalita yun, si Ate. Kasi na-report nga daw siya doon sa morning report ng evening, nasabi na ang ano daw basta ganito, ganyan. Ayaw ni Abby yun. Ibig sabihin niya, pinababayaran yung trabaho niya. Sabi ko, is newly understood yan. Sabi ko, kaya hindi kami kumitigo sa report, wala kami tituan. Hindi kami nag-comment doon. Kasi yung pala partner niya, sinabi sa akin ni Abby. Sino ba ako partner mo? Almatula, 7. Hindi ngayon, I think doon siya magpaliwanag ngayon sa office. Grabe siya, lulusot pa siya, puro sila sinungaling. Mana-mana silang sinungaling. O, di ba? Kay Bertie, naging sinungaling din siya nung naniwala siya kay Bertie sa kasinungalingan, kakalat mo ka, presyo daw. Ganito ganyan, pinakalat ni Bertie. O ngayon, natuklasan naman nila na hindi na totoo dahil si Bertie dati ang kilala nila yung mga pag-aari ganyan. Sinungaling. Kaya yan ang masasabi ko sa isip, kung ganyan din lang naman ang ano nila, at least report natin at nagkakagulo sila sa ganyan bagay, malalaman kung sino ang mga hinayupak. Diba? Unti-unti na mabubulgar. Nagmamagaling eh, unti mo sa shake, nakikialam niya, o hindi naman sila ang base. Diba? Sabi ko sa'yo, malalaman. Buti nga nagsalita si Ibrahim eh. Ano sila? Sino nandoon? Mga nursing o? Hindi makikialam din si Tara pag nagkakagulo dahil wala daw lumikit. Yan ang totoo. Sinabi na sa akin ni Tara yan. At si Tara may comment kay Bertie. Dapat nga sabi niya, hindi na daw magkakapaw si Bertie ng ganyan.
Sinabi na yung work that he gave me. Wala na nag-aapel na. Yeah.
Pero ko yan, Mandy. Isa rin yan.
May bagong puting.
Si Jamila yun.
Namila ba yun?
Yung maputing na na mahingin,
Yeah.
bilugin ang mukha.
Yeah.
Oriented yun, yung nakaraan. Sa akin dapat yan, pero kinuha ni Derby. Kaya sabi ko kay Derby, thank you ha. Yun na nga, sabi ko, sa grupuan niya, sigurado ko. Pero sa totoo lang, sabi ko, dahil sinabi sa akin niya ni Sheryl, pero hindi ko pinuha ng basta-basta dahil wala na siyang papers. Alam mo, sino kumuha? Si Derby. O nga ako, sabi ko, Derby, thank you for being preceptor to my orientation health aid. Ginanong ko na. Hindi pa rin na natingan. Kinuha-kuha niya, tapos ngayon gano'n sasabihin niya. Magaling to si Derby, galing magdikta. Isa rin Alipores, dictator, malayo-layo sasabihin. Pero yung hindi mo pa ha?
Wala sa debate. Baka nung siya lang.
Ako nag-scroll daw si email.
Nandiyan si Ate Edna. Nandiyan si... Wala pa rin siya. Nandiyan si Ate Edna.
Nag-scroll daw si kahapon. Nag-scroll daw.
Hindi ko alam ngayon kung wala. Hindi ko rin siya nakita.
Sino si May? Sabi ko, hindi ko problema. Problemahin niya yung kapatid niya. Dahil yung kapatid niya, pumipikaw ng kidney na sa station 3. Diba? Yeah, sabi ko, magkakalipigan talaga yan. Bukingan na kung ano meron sa station 3. Masyado sila eh. Mga magaling.
Hindi yan pinapansin.
Ha?
Nakakalikan. Mga itim at saka Pinoy kasi Beverly.
Mga gagaling na, magagaling. Ang ngayon, magkakabukingan na yan. I'll let you know. Sino ngayon ang mga andyan na gago. Ito lang nagpapagulo eh. Yung mga sila Jericho, sila Merva, nagmamadali eh. Alam mo kung ano. Ando si ano? Ando si Valerie.
Wala pa. Wala pa. Ang nandoon si susunod dumating. Wala si susunod dumating.
Si Tama nga, salita na sa isa yung coordinator, pero siya pinakita. Sige na. Kaya magkakabuti mo kung sino talaga ang best. Di ba? Basta tayo ginagawa natin yung maayos at mabuti. Tanda mo yan, sis, ha? Wala tayo pinanuhan, sis. O, di ba? Trabaho. Kaya kung ano yung endorsement mo, the regular ka, i-endorse mo sa amin, magkatugma kung ano yung ginagawa mo, the same thing, di ba?
Pag hindi ang kakay, na iba. Sunod lang.
Eh, yung masusunod sa kanila, gusto nila. Pagdating sa atin, mapula na at may sugat na. Okay lang. Eh, matigas ang ulo nila eh. Samantala na yung asawa mo, agree? Eh, yan pa kaya? O, huwag lang magkaroon ng ano ang asawa. O, di ba? Eh, problema na nila yan, sige na tayo. Basta ginawa na natin ang lahat. Di ba? Oo, buti na lang ini-inform mo ko ha, kasi sabi ko sa'yo, hindi ko sila i-dictate mo rin ang ganun, regarding sa trabaho. Diba?
O kasi,
Mananalo dyan, nice.
sabi niya,
Hindi natin susundin.
Kaya sabi niya, gusto mong gamitan si
Okay.
global, sabi niya, sabi ko, actually, underwear at saka global sa inilalagay ko para hindi sa ako, hindi na nagpalit. Kasi kung may para sa isang mga iayos ka ng maayos yung na ibabalik na ng maayos para sa kanya nilalagay yung niya. Kasi ako, kana magpupunta yan sa washing.
Kasi ganito lang yan eh, pag hindi nagkaintindihan yan, alam mo kung ba? Straight.
So, ang masasabi niya,
Pero pagka ganyan sis, sasabihin mo pag nakita mo nakapusa, i-click mo na sabihin mo na talagang inaalis niya ang basang-basa, hindi. Ganun lang. Tapos sasabihin mo how many times na nangyayari.
hindi, pag lang nangyayari nga, although sabi niya, kaya siya, ang siya talaga magsalita. Sabi niya, siya.
Search siya tapos.
Bago,
Kasi mo na tapos.
Financial flexibility, I think it needs to be more.
Gusto ko yun sis. Kasi siya
We get a lot of calls on that, taking some of these.
samantalang nights regular, and me,
Going
and
on.
she is there's no problem. Pag sa akin si Bill, kasi galit din si Bill sa mga pinaggagawa nila. Lalo na may meron siya.
I just feel when
Ay, naku.
It's also, so this man, the certifies that Phillips, who does electronics.
Ay, naku.
Says Will Jacob, from the CISA, to talk to them because it's expanded pushing the healthcare.
So, oo, yun. Nagdaan ka sa totoo yun sis, kahit dito, pag kaya nga ayaw time. Kasi sis, sanay sila sa araw. malalakas. Kasi pag dito daw yan na ano, at hindi nasanay lagi na talaga ng bayan, so parang ang napaan sa malamig, may gusto daw yan, mataan. Oo, correct. Ito yung safe. Oo. Ito yung safe kami ang mangyayari. Either way yan. Correct. Emergency. Oo. Cover na. Ako nga daw, breaking point.
Preserve your rights as a Join the
Okay,
GLCs and how you're using alternatives to GPS.
ako yeah, breaking sister ko pa.
Savvy investors know that gold
Yeah, breaking sister profit.
as a
Wag ko
reliable
lang yung
asset. So how do you invest in gold? Sandstorm Gold announcing a publicly traded
Pati
company.
yung ano ko yung pati. Sige, pagsagan ng kakatalayin, dali na. Ang basta hindi ka.
Way to invest in gold at sandstormgold.com.
Iba-ibang dates, di ba? Ayun na yung gagawin ko ya. Bukas, ibigay ko yung sige.
Create subscription.
Ang problema nga niya, hindi basta-basta mag-aan. Si ano, si Para, kasi ano, si Para.
The chief executive officer of Philips in
Si Para
October
nila.
2022, the company's stock was in a
Office na nga, oo, si ano, i-confirm mo nga nila sa office para special food.
now the stock is nearly tripled under his leadership. He successfully transformed the
Eh, paano mo na yung bago ay bago?
Giants, doubling down on its focus on healthcare, particularly in areas that can be exploited by artificial intelligence.
Kaya ang sabi ko,
He's the chief executive officer.
eh, sabi ko, ano ko gawin mo?
So that was a very recent trip to Apple New York City.
Play ko 17 October.
Was the recall of many issues developed by Philips. So that recall happened in 2021. What was the state of morale in the aftermath of that?
Cause a big impact because your products function properly and actually get more to go out what it totally is to do. Secondly, it had a big impact on the company performance overall. So we had to need some significant share.
Kala ko sa parang Very lang, pinag-face ko naman, pag-isingin ko ako sa natin mo na.
That's where
Oo. Kasi regular na sa night eh. Oo. Yan lang. Sinabi din naman sa amin para do what supportable regarding for her sabi na. So, I'm not gonna be a safe si Vera. Hindi, gagawin ko, bibigyan ko si Vera. Bibigyan ko siya. Papasok na ako agad sa room ko siya, wala kang shipping. Na kapag nakita ko si Marlene na basa at hindi ko sila maalisin, palitan ko. Tulad ng ginawa ko kay Charles Brown na ako. Pinakita ko na nakalilig siya. Come here first. Check your residency for the soul. Even though it's not just something, it is make it. Next time, don't put that close up.
She's helped people with I believe the deep state. Give us a control on also last year.
Innovation happening around 30 years old. We have been innovating many different segments based on our deep technology base. So in the recent 10 years, we made a big shift towards focusing our great capability to support healthcare. And in healthcare, we have a number of segments where we it's monitoring procedures, starting at of any food again. It was scary. We really look at kind of that's how we provide the best quality imaging also the quality that's needed. And then the first interventional therapies, so we look at minimally invasive therapies. Surgery of minor and all the intervention. Strong informatics and AI supporting strategy, where we actually have an open platform that connects the workflows in these different platforms and segments. And we still have
Kasi ako nga eh, siguro sabi nila ako sa sabi ko, pero hindi nila alam, in-explain ko ako sa akin. Sabi ko, here, work, I don't deal to it, for your sake of your job for policy.
So it is a $19 billion company. It's respiratory care is still small, but it's $1 billion out of the total.
You said among the regulators and customers, how did you do that? How did you do that?
I think it was very important to come out with a realistic
Hindi sila pinapansin.
our
Hindi na hinihintay sila.
also very much what we could do for healthcare and
Hindi sila hinihintay na o tatawag nila.
on the plan that we laid out. Also being clear on if you on a quarterly basis track our progress, what have you been achieving? So I think the say-do ratio is very important if you start to rebuild trust. Audiences and what is important for them. We have our customers, of course, we need to deliver how to deliver better and more care. They have a very big stress in healthcare.
I am not people to take care of. They said they are.
Resources are also intervention can be there to really do a better job. When they go through a trajectory, but also they want to rely on a good experience because if you're sick already, it's there's the whole
Yes.
How can you make an impact? So of course the regulators
Regarding the rest, how they do what they do. Because they said there's no any trouble with the residents. And now they are saying 3 assist, 2 assist, 3 assist. But Mary Lou, there's no any problem and how they communicate with the residents.
Engaging a lot with them, being clear on what we are going.
They are being quiet and mostly yes, but they're now but they're confirming it to me how's going on to your residents, blah blah blah. What? 3 assists in the others and then they said it's 3 assists because Sarah was there. I said the nurse. How do I manage my residents? There's no any trouble. And then he said, that Mary Lou can manage. There's no any trouble with them. How many times when Mary Lou is working with them? But I said to Sarah, it's depends how do you your voice, how approach
tracking against those targets. Secondly, was very much also about how we bring in new technology like AI
some
to really
they do mess, and then picking up in the days, they doing making mess again. That's the one they are big problem on the evening. It's like a boss in the season. 6 person in I know this. That's the one making mess up with Eva and me and the bridging. That's the one. It's a group mafia. That's
actually was a massive impact on the
Reggie, Albatugla, Melba, Jericho, and the rest of
patients do move during an accident.
and the soap opera is one of the duty resident. That's why they are doing
position.
And now they said this morning the evening shift that Jericho and Melba matching on the schedule of the days that Ibrahim left. Jericho and Melba, you're not a regular days. You don't have to touch it. Because you're not regular in the days. Days, you don't know about the days. That's what they are saying. They don't have to make a schedule with you. Good. That's what I said. Now they find out who's the one who's making the
Chief Executive Officer of Philips.
because there's no regular. Me, Kuya Mandy, regular, and there. And then the PA was there.
For celebration,
So make them aware what we say.
or a moment to unwind.
Let them do by the days. Do not touch it with what regular. That's what we say.
Just Skyline's diverse advantage with 9 to 14% historical
And then waiting for me what's going on our residents. Because he's a regular night. And he's the one my relieving of days. And then there's no problem in the days Sarah told me Mary would do that. There's no any problem with her. The residents. And they do smoothly and but they said we assist. That's why Tara asking for repair. They said it's 3 assists, but there's not Three assists may if they are needed, what assists I do. That's the office making mess. Meaning like they know everything works.
Well, you look like the type that hits a lot of curves,
Dumpster,
so I'm thinking these pretty new tires.
even though Abe is going to the office today. Sinala them because this evening is the one we
So instead, she
The new hire. She wants to go to the office.
options based on the
She prepares for
and
it.
your budget. Read winter times on free for a limited time.
So it's a financial approach that just goes together. Kind of like this. Investments in the front. Insurance in the back. We do both.
Here's a look at what's happening on Bay and Wall Street.
What happens so
Influential stocks and then we're trying to solve this. As you can see, it was down there about 6. Achieved a target, working like only by the TSX. So by intraday value on Friday. So the momentum has been upward for the S&P TSX Composite. Our guest Brian Belsky, who was the first guest in this program, remains bullish. And the S&P TSX Composite, in which the stock market is revised target is 25,000 and change. I don't remember the specifics, but he is calling for a 25,000 S&P TSX Composite. The S&P 500 in the US down by 100%, and the NASDAQ calling for down by 0.6 of a percentage point. Here's a look at the major sectors. There are some of the stocks that are medium today. That price of oil, which is down. West Texas Intermediate Crude is trading at $70 per barrel. That's really good things for the mega cap Canadian energy producers. CNG or Canadian Natural Resources, Suncor and Cenovus, all deeply in negative territory. It's a different story for the growth stocks and when we have one of the pipeline flagships. Those are the 3 most influential upside gainers right now in Toronto. Thanks for watching the open, and the camera is up next.
The one day in this other than the way it was approved.
The open. Do you buy dynamic products? Time to pause as markets can change on a dime. Now the time to be active. Discover the active ETF advantage. On $100,000 US market line, Interactive Brokers charges just 6 points. Do you know how much your broker charges? Fidelity and Schwab charge over 1.5 times as much. E-Trade is even higher. Keep your account to Interactive Brokers and save at least $5,200, or much more if you're trading big bucks. We serve Canada's wealthiest investors. Consider both partners of CG Wealth Management gives the investors we have. Project is big and partners.
Sherman Eldred got through there has really edges. It's the ordinary story. Sherman Ultra so smooth. Operation could tear so much balance. The forward cushion is gone.
One way to avoid profit stints, like being too conservative or not setting retirement goals. Get Fisher Investments come to the retirement kit and help make your retirement success. 1-601-86. Have someone on your side. You know on track. If your retirement will only $500,000 or more, call us today and free up for retirement. 1-601-186. Financial Wellness. One thing we should all
Under pressure and the things. We adjusted expectations, not that well. Brings us to be kind of a soggy trading day to go down from here. Will help us through all. Around the way from the US election over to the state. Both sides of the border, again, hot picks today. We're talking green. One's to buy and one's to stay away from. You won't want to miss that. Here's some of the top stories we're tracking for you right here. In Vienna and the newsroom. In September, she said,
Hello, good morning. Madam Portoy, hello, good morning.
Maybe killers wake up, have not found
Good evening, good evening. Cuteness, hello, good morning. Pasensya na kayo guys. Ha? Apo Marina, shout out to you. Edsnom, shout out. The Tambayers, hello, good morning. Thank you so much for coming. Laps, hello. Adibanyo, good morning, good evening. Whatever day today there. Hello, Laps. Madam Purdoy, Cuteness. Janice, hello. Hello, have a great day today. Thank you always. Ito si ano to? Si Japanese Meg, Gorilla. Hello. I'll be there on your channel, Gorilla. Madam Pordoy, hello.
I'm talking Nvidia down 5%, AMD down 5%.
Thank you for dropping by.
Sure.
The Tambayers, hello.
Particularly on the Dow, but it's still the worst percentage performer on the S&P as well. On the back of a trimmed 2025 forecast, that drops down about 8%.
Sige lang, Madam Pordoy. Thank you so much for dropping by here. Good evening to all of you guys. Madiskarteng nanay. Hello, good evening.
Prices are growing at the slowest pace in 3 years. In fact, inflation finally sports on a headline basis.
Tusok, madam. Thank you, thank you.
For the Bank of Canada.
Apong Marina, gandang gabi po. Ayan.
Charles Saturno, he's chief economist at Alberta Central former.
Maya guys, balikan ko kayo.
So today comes to forecasting for Bank of Canada and its rate path. It's going to be biased a little bit more to the fact that inflation is really cooling more than anticipated.
Solidifying the case for the Bank of Canada to cut by 50 basis points next week. We saw a decent deceleration in headline inflation. We're also seeing when we look under the hood in terms of some of the components that the Bank of Canada has been talking about for some years. So if we look at the momentum, is also in price pressure is also relatively low. We also see the structural inflation pressures coming down again. So everything is kind of showing that inflation is not an issue anymore here in Canada.
You know, some will look at the inflation component being largely driven by lower oil prices, lower airfare as well, but it sounds like you're saying on a broad-based basis, we are seeing general easing.
Yeah, well, when we look, obviously the headline has been driven by a lot of energy prices and airfare, as you mentioned. But when we look at the core measures from the Bank of Canada, yes, still on a year-on-year basis, they haven't come down in September. But the momentum behind, so the recent increase over the past 3 months has been again decelerating. So more consistent, that was 2.1%, which is very close to the midpoint of the inflation target. So there's nothing in terms of inflation pressure in the pipeline really at the moment. And it suggests that some of the kind of upside that we've seen on or the lack of progress on the core on the year-on-year basis is mainly due to base effects.
How's this going to show up in the Canadian dollar or prices already, which has really unwound over the last couple of weeks?
Well, I think in Canadian dollar context is that it's more the differential between the expectations between what we're seeing at the Bank of Canada and the Fed, as much as the Bank of Canada.
Sweetie,
basis points.
I don't know what can I put down there. You know that this gave us of the what do you call that? The seeds of
From the payroll number earlier this one. It's been growing. Now it's
this one, no? I castor bean. It's not castor bean. What they call that is not a castor bean. The other one that I have seeds that they have a flower taller. I'm gonna put it down there. But it's not taller to the wire now. Just the same height of you. What do you call that? Not a castor. Huh? Huh?
What we would have expected
Yes, they
earlier.
are. All flowers.
Yeah, they have flowers that round. What do you call that? Poppers.
You can wait a couple of months and have.
You better use the fence in the back.
No, there is one there.
Oh, it's here, probably there. Where?
On the front there, the flowers of that different color. No, there, the same of the post, the same of the line of the roses.
45 basis point rate cut to 4%.
Cut the grass.
Well, if we look at the Bank of Canada, say
Hindi,
it's
ano?
between
I'm not gonna do it.
25 and 20. It's probably in the upper range of that for some.
This one is castor bean. Is that a different one? Castor bean. I'm gonna check it, the castor bean. Sweet Williams. No, not Sweet Williams. No. It's not the Sweet Williams.
The tall one is 8%.
I know, that's pop.
Then they get some protection from the wind.
We're in the bench. We're gonna do that.
In the bench, beside by maybe, but they folded like this. When on the back of the bench like this, you want to put it over here, right? You mean?
Interest rates are set.
It's times.
Restructuring it.
That's me on the outside.
Yeah, on the back of that, on the nearby the bench, on the wall of the bench, that's the one planting it, right? Oh, that's okay.
Extremely high and extremely leverage, making it really short.
I don't know where is the
Just
seeds of that thing.
On the balance of things, and you know that this is the bank, the way the bank likes to look at things with respect to inflation, the risk of overshooting and the risk of undershooting. Are we now in the latter, the risk of falling inflation to the point that it's problematic?
Well, what is really recording, what the recent dynamic in inflation is showing is that we are, the price pressure are consistent with inflation being at the bottom end of the inflation target. So for example, the momentum, so the three-month change, annualizing headline inflation is 1.25. So you're really at the bottom of the inflation target. So the Fed would probably be worried of seeing inflationary pressure going below there. So, and that's clearly why the bank will need to be a bit more aggressive and bring interest rates to neutral.
All right, Charles, thanks so much for joining us. This is Charles Singer joining us with Alberta Central. We're going to take a quick break. United Health is the biggest pain point in the Dow right now. Let's all move on when we come back.
Trading markets are brought to you by Edward Jones. Money is a thing, but it's not everything. We do money differently. Money is a thing. You're told to make money, invest money, save money. While others are encouraging you to spend your money. You can based on someone else's money. Maybe it's time to do things differently. And get obsessed over something other than to you.
We understand basic things.
Uncertain market resilience is key. CMI mortgage investments. Securities backed by real estate. Target returns up to 16%. Expert management, your investment is in trusted hands. Experience the CMI difference.
Last quarter, capital direct investors saw a return of over 8%. By so many people. Steve Howard, over 15 years. Speak to your financial advisor today and ask for a copy of our
Have you a worldly wealth advisor? At Skinner Wealth Partners, we specialize in significant portfolios of at least $10 million of income. Contact us today in complete confidence. We think share your day. Get more from 12 U.S. Treasuries with each bond of real tax advisor.
Holy hats,
U.S. government.
red and dark,
Or retail, every bond.
holy hats. The one, the taller one. Oh. Judy. This one.
When a young person's dreams start to take shape, a mentor can help them find direction, exploring possibilities, and drive their.
There's no more Afghans because there is. Holy hats.
Big brothers, big sisters.
I went to them taking care of the seeds and then you can plant the rest everywhere. Because right now it's aircon, yeah. It's one of holy hats.
You're watching morning markets on and you're watching the block market start to go under, start to gain some pressure, I should say. Some of the discounts, specific United Health is the key drag on the Dow right now. Let's take a look at why. Let's bring in one. So give me apology. United Health, a big pressure point right now. Give you this why. I'm pretty thrilled about what I should say core actually. They provided a 2025 forecast that actually makes excellent This is something that's really unusual for United. Really, it's coming from them, to hear from them. You know, it's a very rare sort of situation when this actually does happen to them. And I think that's why you're seeing that today fell by as much as about 10%, I believe, in the 4 years. So it's clearly taking a massive hit. You know, this company has had to deal with a decent amount of issues. They are trying to come through higher maintenance costs. One of them, they also have that massive cash, which is really what's hurting their forecast right now. One thing that the management did say is that, you know, this is a very conservative guidance and they are hoping to come out on a high level. You know, coming out and putting these numbers in front of the market.
Hello, manyaman. Dito lang po, ma'am. Malu. Tambay lang ko. Yahoo! Thank you for tambay, manyaman. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I just
Madam Purdoyan, good evening. Thank you so much, manyaman. Adibanyo, thank you. Later, I'll be there in your channel. One channel I have only. I am on live. That's why I cannot go down in your channel right now. Later, I'll be there in your channel.
I think that's all have the conversation. Basically, you know, we're in full mode right now. The shares are down more than 40% this year. I think bringing in a new CEO and all the changes that he's trying to make at this point is probably something the investors are pretty much expecting, and maybe that's why we're not seeing a huge market reaction. Then and the fact that we already knew that the possibility of a capital raise of $10 billion was expected. So I think that's really how the market is sort of anticipating more news and also just seeing like how much can actually be raised at this point for Boeing and how long will that last and how much will it help them.
It's a good day for Charles Schwab on the back of their quarterly results. What did they show?
Yeah, you know, the third quarter results beat, especially on earnings per share. I think that's what the market is paying attention to. I think what's interesting here is the fact that, you know, I think people are starting to trade more and spend more through their platforms, and that's what they're seeing. Their transactional cash sweep has gone up by about $9 billion sequentially, and I think that's also really what helping Schwab right now. Overall, I think analysts are basically saying, you know, is this an inflection point? The CEO did talk about that, but he also did say time will tell. And I think this has become the focus. You know, will this continue for future periods, or is it just a one-off? That's really going to be the question for Schwab. But like I said, today, great day for shares of Schwab.
All right, thank you very much. That's Sylvia Baldry reporting from Bloomberg. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, as we gear up for the election in the U.S., we're going to talk to Eric Miller, president of the Retail Entitlement Group, on what's at stake for both countries.
Today's smaller companies can become tomorrow's biggest fundraiser. Smaller mid-cap equities to your portfolio can lead to higher return and may also lower your risk. Get exposure through the TDQ US Small Mid-Cap Equity ETF.
Are you wearing two jerseys?
Yeah, one for the team I'm invested in, one for insurance.
Looking to maximize your monthly income? Our Yield Maximizer ETFs define your favorite sectors with a yielding income first strategy to help you meet your goals. More income every month from Hamilton ETFs. There are the others, and here's you. Do you find innovative ways to add value to your clients' portfolios? We do too. See for yourself at 9point.com/advantage. 9point, your advantage. Money is a thing. You're told to make money, invest money, save money. While others are encouraging you to spend your money. You might be planning your money based on someone else's plan. Maybe it's time to do things differently. And you obsess over something other than money. Building a path is so much important to you.
We understand the reason, but it's not everything. At Jones, we do money differently.
In the heart of the city, conventions drive progress. At Cushing Blake, we've spent decades building bridges of trust with Canada's most deserving investors, never missing a beat since inception. New opportunities are now available to accredited investors to participate in the deliverance, dearly needed rental housing supply, while enjoying robust, stable, long-term returns on the Clifton Lake urban mixed use. Our network is your network. Invest in relationships. Join our network. The closed captioning of this BNN Bloomberg program is brought to you by the National Payroll Institute. Win the hearts of workers by signing the Declaration for Payroll today.
Three weeks to go in the race for the White House. Both presidential candidates held events in Battleground, Pennsylvania, each taking a very different approach. ABC's Christian Cordero has the details from Washington, D.C.
Outside of Philadelphia and inside of a warm event center Monday, former President Trump got roughly 30 minutes into a town hall when the first medical emergency happened. An attendee was placed on a stretcher, and moments later, another person needed medical attention. Trump paused his Q&A instead of addressing the heat in the room. Microphone Ave Maria blasted over the loudspeaker. The event continued as the second call and attendee made their way out of the venue.
Would anybody else like to vent?
Trump touched on issues related to immigration, the Afghanistan withdrawal, and the importance of winning Pennsylvania before turning to his soundtrack for 45 minutes.
Let's not do any more questions. Let's just listen to music. Let's make it into a beautiful. Who the hell wants to hear questions today? That's isn't that beautiful?
Across the state in Erie, Vice President Harris went with the tactic Trump often uses, playing clips of her opponent on large monitors around the arena, slamming him for calling his opponents the enemy within. Donald Trump is increasingly unstable and unhinged. And he is out for unchecked power. Earlier today, Harris stopped by a Black-owned business as she continues to chip away at both the key demographic and the number one issue in this election, the economy. Harris inching closer to Trump when it comes to voter confidence on the economy, with down another threatened time. On Monday, Harris announced new small business incentives, including a plan to provide 1 million loans to Black entrepreneurs. Christian Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
All right, let's bring in Eric Miller, president of the Regional Potomac Strategy Group. Eric, thanks so much for joining us. I mean, we've got enough political intrigue here as well with questions about the Malaysian government and how long have they been able to withstand from the opposition that is really bent on bringing them down, you know, as well as for potential infighting from Trudeau's own party. And I'm curious about, you know, with the election 3 weeks away, how much focus is there on potential foreign policy versus what's going on domestically?
There's a fair bit of focus on foreign policy because the sense is that Donald Trump is pursuing a real departure from what has been the traditional post-war foreign policy. So when you look at things such as Ukraine, Israel, NATO, you would see a significant departure under a Trump presidency compared to the Kamala Harris presidency, which seems to promise continuity.
Well, I think that's interesting. What are the main differences when it comes to regional hotspots? Because I've made the point before that when it comes to China, the approach, whether it's a Trump presidency or a Biden presidency, and in some cases Biden extended some of the punishments towards China. Other issues, where do we see a more marked divide?
So certainly on Ukraine, very big difference. The Harris administration, were there to be one, seek to continue to support Ukraine in its fight against Russia. We've seen the Trump team very much in favor of a Russian position around a negotiated settlement. We learned on the new Woodward book that Mr. Trump had frequent conversations with Mr. Putin after he left the White House. And it's been a long-term theme of his that you will see a support for a Russian position. Also in Israel, we saw the Trump administration take a very strong supportive position, move the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, for example. And one would expect a very strong support on the part of the Trump administration toward Benjamin Netanyahu's strategy in Lebanon, in the Gaza and other places, whereas Kamala Harris is looking for a longer term solution around the creation of two states and some stabilization in the Middle East, but at the same time ensuring Israel's right to defend itself. So she's going for a balancing act, whereas Mr. Trump is very pro-Israel.
And in terms of implications to Canada, I imagine that, certainly this government has made it very clear where they stand on Russia versus Ukraine, a little bit more muddier, I would say, on the Israel-Gaza war. Are there direct implications to Canada with respect to either of those issues, depending who's in power?
Certainly there are. Canada has been very strong in its support for Ukraine, and you would see very different views about the path forward, were there to be a Trump administration versus a Harris administration in Ottawa. And you will also see the new efforts in Canada to remake and rearm the military as something that would be given impetus under a Trump administration, perhaps slightly less so under a Harris administration. And lest we forget also that both Trump and Harris said that they would like to renegotiate the Canada-US-Mexico agreement in 2026. So the issues of trade and tariffs are something that need to be kept in mind. But Donald Trump has said he wants a 10% tariff on everything that comes into the US, whereas Kamala Harris has said she wants to use tariffs strategically against Chinese competition.
And I guess there's questions to what extent Canada would be immune from that.
Well, I think much like in the first Trump administration, Canada would have to step up and pursue a strategy of defense in protecting the agreement. And we see things like Bill C-282 in Canada that seeks to strip the trade minister of power to negotiate on dairy as something that would put Canada on a collision course with the United States in these negotiations.
Canada finds itself in a difficult relations with China, which, the US has been pretty aggressive toward, but also India, with the expelling of the High Commissioner of diplomats and the retaliation from Indian government officials as well, as they continue to investigate what they believe was an attempt or was a murder of a Canadian by a foreign government. This has significantly fractured relations between Canada and India, and emerging growth story. Do we have clarity on positions, Trump versus Harris, and how important India is strategically?
So India is a very interesting case because during the Trump administration, you saw Mr. Trump go so far as to hold rallies in New Jersey with Narendra Modi, the Indian Prime Minister. Certainly both are on the right of the political spectrum and on the more populist side of the political spectrum. So there's an ideological alignment there. That said, Kamala Harris has family roots that directly go to Tamil Nadu in the south of India, and she would want to see a stronger relationship with India. But certainly, as this process plays itself out around alleged Indian government intelligence activities and so on, it is going to be a while till Canada sees a rebuilding of the relationship with India, and that will be an important priority for the months ahead. And of course, some of that will be affected by how the US-India relationship plays out, and in essence, the political space that is available as the US figures out its security and economic relationship with the South Asian giant.
Eric, thanks so much for joining us with this insight. A lot to watch as we move closer and closer to that US election. Eric Miller, president of the Region Potomac Strategy Group. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, is there more upside for the financials? We'll get perspective with Jonathan Corpina next.
Get ready to discover Emperor Metal. Emperor is advancing the historical high-grade gold resource in the heart of one of the most unproductive gold mining districts in Quebec, Canada. Drill results are coming soon,
and a new mineral resource estimate is expected in Q1 of 2025. Led by a team that's raised over $1 billion and generated returns for shareholders. Experience Emperor Metals.
Interactive Brokers pays up to 4.33% on instantly available US dollars in your brokerage account. How much interest can your bank or broker pay? Interactive Brokers' conservative and prudent risk management uniquely positions us to pay up to 4.33% on uninvested, instantly available US dollars in your brokerage account. The best informed investors choose Interactive Brokers.
Introducing Harvest High Income Shares ETFs, individual stock ETFs with high income. Microsoft, Amazon, Eli Lilly, and NVIDIA. Harvest High Income Shares ETFs with covered calls. Now trading on the TSX. As the consumer class grows, we're looking at the world's most valuable commodity, water. Go beyond the obvious with a global perspective. AGF, invested in discipline.
When it comes to investing, we live in uncertain times. Some assets can evaporate at the click of a button. Others can deflate with a single policy change. Savvy investors know that gold has stood the test of time as a reliable, real asset. So how do you invest in gold? Sandstorm Gold Royalties is a publicly traded company offering a diversified portfolio of mining royalties in one simple investment. Learn more about a brighter way to invest in gold at sandstormgold.com.
Canada's inflation rate grew at the slowest pace in more than 3 years. Consumer price index rose just 1.6% from September in September, I should say, from a year ago, slower than what economists had expected. Data from StatsCan shows the slowdown was led by decline in gas prices, airfare, and travel. Some economists believe the data will tilt the odds in favor of a bigger rate cut by the Bank of Canada next week. The price of oil is at a lower after a report that Israel may avoid targeting Iran's crude infrastructure. The report says Israel is weighing U.S. warnings, but will act based on its own assessment. This comes after the International Energy Agency said the global oil market is heading for a sizable surplus next year. Shares of Johnson & Johnson are getting the news today that healthcare giant raised its profit and sales forecast for the year after seeing strong sales of its oncology drugs, which jumped nearly 19%. The company also reported profit and revenue in its latest quarter that beat expectations. We're seeing weakness take hold of the markets for the TSX. A lot of that was driven by those weaker oil prices. But in the US, it is all about tech weakness. At around 10 a.m. Eastern Time, ASML, the big equipment maker for the semiconductor space, reported bookings that were half of what was expected. Bookings of just 2.6 billion euros. The market was looking for something closer to 5.3 billion. There you can see what happened to the stock. And really, it is not just the stock ASML, it's the whole AI complex, the whole semiconductor complex. So we're already an inkling of caution because of concerns that the U.S. government was going to stop sales of certain chips to certain countries. But certainly we saw precipitous decline in some of these names like NVIDIA, Advanced Micro, Lam Research, when ASML's orders came out. So this is creating quite a chill in the tech space right now. On the back of that, we've got a number of earnings stories to contend with, largely in the financial. And I have to be honest, the results that we got from the likes of Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, even Citi came in broadly above expectations, but the gains in the immediate reaction to those results have largely faded. Let's bring in Jonathan Porcia, Senior Managing Partner at Meridian.
Get a little relief from photography, whatever that is. Or get up to 8 hours of relief with Buckley's Dry Cup Extra Strength. Buckley's, it tastes awful and it works.
Top up is yellow, in case you're wondering. More on this, Special Report anchor Brett Baer. So this morning I was listening to a podcast that the New York Times does, and they choose 3 or 4 stories to highlight in the morning. Your interview with Kamala Harris is one of those 3. So this is big news to everybody. People are getting a lot of there's a lot of interest in it. And I'm curious if you could walk us through, how did it come together, and then how do you think it will go? How much time do you get with her?
Yeah, good morning. You listen to a lot of the podcasts.
I would, sure.
Yeah, it took a long time. The back and forth of the campaign, I've obviously asked, a lot of us have, for interviews. I was also asking about a debate that we were trying to have, a final closing arguments. The campaign came back and said she was going to have this event in Philadelphia and I could have a sit down. So the time is roughly 25 minutes, 25 to 30 minutes. We're trying to do it live, but they give us the time, 5 p.m. Eastern time. As you know, my show starts at 6. So we're doing it pre-tape, but wanted to wait until we got the commercial structure. So now we do, thanks to the folks above, and we are going to run it uninterrupted, unedited, all the way, maybe 30 minutes, the first part of a special report, and then we'll have a panel discussion about it afterwards. So that's how it came about. It's been a long time in the making, and I'm in the making of how it's going to start.
Yeah, I'm curious to know how she got the yes. Before I let you answer that, I will just read this headline from the New York Times today, because this is what we woke up to. Harris's final challenge before a splintering Democratic coalition. Defections from Black and Latino voters are making Kamala Harris more dependent on white suburban voters and complicating the path to victory. So why would she see this massive audience as an opportunity, or who did she see in that audience?
Well, I just think that, you know, we have a lot of eyeballs. We have Democrats, Independents, and Republicans. We have the biggest cable news audience. And this I probably is going to get a lot more eyeballs. I think tough but fair is what I pitched it as, and I think that's what they're going to see. If you can think of the issues that people care about, that they ask pollsters, or they answer the pollsters what they care about, those questions are going to be in the mix. And, you know, some things that perhaps haven't been asked in other interviews. Their time, 30 minutes is enough time to press and follow up. And I think we'll go down a number of different roads. That event outside Philadelphia is a Republicans supporting Harris. So I think she's using that event to kind of make a point before the event.
David Flock, who is with Obama, he told New York Magazine, this is going to be close. And this one may be close in more states than we've seen in a long time. We have 6, 7 states come down to a point and a half. It's copper number 5, guys. And that's probably where this is headed. And then if you just look at the Fox News power rankings forecast map, we just put Michigan as a toss-up that had been lean Democrat. And then you look at these ABC and NBC polls with Harris 50-48 and Harris Trump 48-48. It is, I heard yesterday it described as it's tied and getting closer.
Yeah, exactly. And, if we believe these polls, and there's a slew of them, it's all within the margin of error, and it comes down to those 7 states. So in these final 3 weeks, it's hard to believe we're 3 weeks from today. Any little thing that moves the needle any bit could be a factor. So these events are big things. Harris's town hall with the former president is going to be a big thing tomorrow. And we invited the former president for the same format of this interview, uninterrupted, 30 minutes. And we'll see if he takes us up on it before the election.
Well, maybe you got Harris on Wednesday and Trump on Thursday. That'd be all right. That'd be a good week.
Okay. A little roundtable question. Oh, Greg.
Never be in the Greg.
Greg, good luck. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. I'm Steve Ducey. I'm Ryan Tilden.
Here, subscribe to the Fox News YouTube
It doesn't matter if you're more urban, an adventurous, a foodie, Floridian, techie, or a mom. With Tucson's best-in-class standard safety and tech features, WA keeps you going.
Early voting underway in a number of states, and voter registration numbers are raising some red flags for Harris in some key battlegrounds.
This could be people maybe new registered indicator are these numbers for what's going to happen come November.
I think overall it could be a great indicator for the Republican Party. Because we talked about, I think the thing that concerns me here is how are these numbers coming in? Are they simply moving registration away from the Democratic Party? If they've been voting Republican and they're now just fed up with the Democratic Party, or have they become fed up with the Democratic Party in the last 3.5 years and they're moving now to the Republican Party? We're really going to start seeing these in the numbers as when they actually start turning in these absentee ballots and other things early. We'll see how much of a trend that is working. And then finally on election day. But it is very concerning if you were a Democratic Party in a stronghold where you thought you could depend on the Democrat, quote, registered voters. It's going to change in these other states as well.
It is important, I think, we look at the actual numbers when it comes to these numbers. Let's go back to the wall again, and you can see in all these key battlegrounds, the Democrats have more registrations than the Republicans. So someone few campaigns of his own of how do Republicans convert their registration to actual voters?
Really hard work. And I think we've seen this before. Look, they may be outnumbered, say, in North Carolina, but we've won races, statewide races in North Carolina. So this, what it takes is getting out and making sure that people go vote. That's my biggest concern over the next few weeks. Today, early voting starts in Georgia, and it's just appalling to me that we can't get people out to vote. We have 70 or 80% and call that good. How can that be good? How Republicans win this, though, is they make sure that they follow up on their voters, they make sure that they go door to door, the absentee ballots are changed, and we make sure we recognize the importance of this election. Instead of just griping on social media about what's wrong in the world, you now have an actual chance to change the outcome of our country, but you've got to vote. We got to do that on the ground, though. That's where the ads and all are great, but it actually is that one-on-one contact that if we have found is the best motivator for people going to vote.
Yeah. Your family, 40 monocles and coffee family. She turned around how much she wants to be tethered to the last 3.5 years.
Yeah, I've said before, we call this the amnesia ticket. They want you to forget the last 3.5 years. The problem they've had is that they can't change the narrative. The reason she's finally doing interviews in which are not power club interviews, even when she talks about constellations, as y'all showed earlier, it's going to be hard because they've now realized that they can't change the narrative to abortion or any other thing. They realize that the economy, immigration, these are the things that people are concerned about. And they also recognize the fact, even in their own poll, that people don't like the politics of the last 3.5 years.
Well, UFO drones are surveilling America's military cells. That says it can't stop it. 45 seconds to you, we can't stop potential enemy drones in the
She's flying over space in Nevada and Virginia, military bases there.
I've been appalling this administration views surveillance on some of our most sensitive sites is something they can't do anything about. We started with weather balloons that we just let float across our sites. Now we're having actual low-level drones that are there are things that we can do. It's just shocking to me that it's waiting 6 months to come out. And the fact that we're just sort of, well, yeah, we can't do anything about it because we're worried about all these collateral consequences. Look, this is what they want to do. They want to find out where our troops and where our assets are positioned.
It says, because snooping does not constitute an imminent threat, the military is prohibited by law from shooting down the drones. We might want to change that law and change our policy. Chuck Collins never changed here. I'm Steve Busey. I'm Ryan Tillman.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page.
Listen, on the news, always on the go, charging ahead. Making a day.
Okay, good, Senator, welcome back. You got your own tough race. I think you might set a record in terms of the amount of money thrown into one candidate. We'll talk about your race. What do you see as the state of the race in the country right now? And those 7 swing states we're also focused on. Well, listen, I think the Biden-Harris White House is in panic. Story you just reported on is real. I think hardcore Biden loyalists was thrown out unceremoniously, defenestrated, thrown out the window. And to be clear, I don't think Joe Biden left voluntarily. I think Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer said, get out. And if you don't get out, we will exercise the 25th Amendment and force Kamala on you. And I think the Biden, now their only argument was Biden's going to lose. Well, now Kamala's losing, right? Donald Trump is winning in 6 of the 7 swing states. I think the momentum is with Trump, and the Kamala campaign is, listen, you know it's bad when Senator now turns on Kamala. That happened this Saturday when the cold open, and I think we're going to see more and more of that momentum between now and election day. How do you feel about the Senate? You're a big part of that. My sources in Texas say that you're up probably by 4 or 5. I know some polls are showing it a little closer. But with that said, like I'm telling people in this race with President Trump and Kamala Harris, you better assume that your vote is the deciding vote in the election. And like in Texas, if you're in Texas and you care about border security, if you don't want Harris-Biden inflation, if you don't want to pay high gas prices, if you want law and order, you better pay attention to Senator Cruz and his race. And don't you have a debate coming up soon too? So I do. Our debate is tomorrow, and Chuck Schumer has been explicit. I'm his #1 target in the country. Chuck Schumer and George Soros are flooding over $100 million into the state of Texas. I'm getting pounded every day. We had a poll just come out yesterday, showed it as a 1-point race, and we're getting viciously outspent. And so I'm so appreciative of your viewers going to tedcruz.org, tedcruz.org, contributing $25, 50, 100. Maybe somebody giving 500 or 1,000, but go to tedcruz.org, because when you've got $100 million wild-eyed liberal that want to buy Texas, and here's what Schumer thinks: if he can flip Texas, he wins the Senate and he wins the country. Texas is the battleground. My opponent, Colin Allred, is a hard left Kamala Harris clone. He voted 100% with Nancy Pelosi his first 4 years in the House. He voted 100% with Joe Biden from 2021 to 2023. And yet
$100 million on the other side is dangerous. So please come to tedcruz.org, tedcruz.org. I need your help and support at tedcruz.org.
Well, let me ask you, what are his, if 100% is supporting Harris and Biden, I'm having a hard time understanding because Texas has been bearing the brunt of the illegal immigration and open borders policy of the borders on Kamala Harris. I'm trying to understand why. Because didn't he have some things to say about open borders himself that we didn't seem to have a problem with it a couple of years ago, did he?
Look, Colin Allred is doing what Kamala Harris is, which is lying like crazy. $100 million buys you a lot of lies. He's running ads with him in front of the border wall, despite the fact that he calls the border wall that racist border wall that he pledged to tear down. He has voted repeatedly in favor of boys competing in girls' sports. He voted repeatedly in favor of boys and grown men coming in girls' bathrooms, their locker rooms, their changing rooms. And I'll tell you, Sean, just a week ago, he joined with 100 left-wing Democrats in signing a letter saying that our Defense Department should allow drag shows on military bases, that taxpayers should pay for sex change operations for our soldiers, that they should pay for sex change operations and sterilization for children on military bases. And Colin Allred wants every military base in America to be able to fly the transgender flag above their bases. It is radical. And you know what he's doing right now? He's got millions of dollars of ads on TV saying, that's not true, it's all a lie. Well, his record is there, but I'll tell you, Sean, the only way the people of Texas know his record is if folks go to tedcruz.org, tedcruz.org, and contribute, because right now the other side is trying to buy the race, and they're trying to buy the race through deception and lies. And so patriots across Texas and America going to tedcruz.org makes all the difference.
It's an important seat. We need you back in the Senate. I think between you and Governor Abbott, I think two of you, and by the way, other officials in Texas, to be fair, have been on the front lines of fighting the open borders that literally has resulted in dead Americans, Americans raped, victims of violent crime, billions and billions of dollars, and it's been an unmitigated disaster, and no terrorists in the country, and 13,000 murderers that are there out in the country. All of it is, fact check it, because it's all true. Senator Cruz, thank you. When we come back, hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey.
Georgian vacation plans probably don't include hepatitis A or B, but many common travel activities can.
22 days away from the election, the panic on the left is palpable. The poll numbers are not good for Kamala Harris. However, I urge every voter to assume that your sole vote will decide this election. In other words, take nothing for granted. But now, in a last-ditch effort to win over voters, the Harris campaign is getting very interesting. They're trying out two very desperate measures. One, the first, includes more public events for the Democratic candidate who's been in hiding for 84 days. And as you can imagine, it is not going well at all. They don't look.
There's this whole, I talked with somebody once who said, if you just look at where the stars are in the sky, don't look at them as just random things. If you just look at them as points, look at the constellation, what does it show you? So you just outlined it wrong. What does it show you? That the cities that he picks on in terms of Black population or Black mayor or votes.
Stars in the sky, beautiful. Let's state the obvious. Kamala Harris is a terrible candidate. Her running mate, well, it's just as bad, if not worse. She does not connect with voters, especially without a teleprompter. That is why Kamala has been in hiding. That is why her surrogates are so important to her campaign. Now, this brings us to the second desperate measure that the Harris campaign is now employing here, a full court press featuring all of Kamala Harris's top allies. But so far, that strategy has been a disaster. First, campaign co-chair Gretchen Whitmer, she had to finally apologize. Bizarre video that many believe was a cheap attempt at mocking Holy Communion. Take a look. And then you spent the next several days getting home. This was merely a promotion for semiconductor chips. And now has finally been forced to apologize for offending Catholics and other Christians at the same time. And other parents. Obama, he really wanted to be in Pennsylvania before the speech. Always seemed to enjoy tracking Trump, which is a list of sections. And he was scolding African American men, even accusing them of sexism. Listen.
Yes, the same energy. Now, I also want to say that seems to be more than us with the brothers. Now, speaking to Ben directly, Carter basically think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having your children as brother. And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for them.
Oh, maybe you're against women. Wow, those condescending remarks were not received well at all. Far-left activist Nina Turner even accused Obama of, quote, blaming black men for the Democratic Party's failures. The very liberal New York Magazine calling it, quote, Barack Obama's tiresome condescension toward black men. An op-ed in the Washington Post referred to Obama as the scolder in chief and advised the Harris campaign to, quote, steer clear of Obama's instinct for, quote, tough love. So after a heavy dose of judgment from the former president, in this case Obama, well, the Harris campaign continues with more surrogates, but equally insulting tactics. Harris is now promising, a handout and cold hard cash up to 20 grand in forgivable loan forgiveness, loans that are only available to black entrepreneurs, that they would be the only ones able or eligible to receive it. She, remember, also wants to pay off student loans, and she's vowing to help African Americans invest in cryptocurrency, and she's calling for marijuana to be legalized. But when you think of the pandering and you think it can't get any worse, is this kind of like a vote buying scheme where you want to pay off student loans for young people who call stupid? Or is it $25,000 down payments for your first home or $50,000 for other businesses? Or what about a running mate, Tim Walz, trying to win over male voters with sports and guns? Because on Friday, during a quick trip to a high school football game, where Walz was a assistant volunteer coach, the kind of claim he was a coach, he was almost ignored by the entire crowd that gave him the silent treatment. And then on Saturday, Walz, he wanted to, show the world what a big Second Amendment guy he was, and brought out a shotgun and he went pheasant hunting. And meanwhile, Kamala, she wants a mandatory gun buyback. Some might call it confiscation. Unfortunately, this was also a disaster for Walz. He didn't seem to know how to load his own gun. You decide.
That phone's very, and never gets quite right. This was a Beretta 400. I bought it when I was using a lot of trap because it had a kinds of patents in it. Well, so we get old.
That's another been 15 years since I pulled that sucker out. Anyway, of course, Walz also trying to connect with his fellow guy, pounding down a Diet Mountain Dew. I prefer regular. Take a look.
Well, it's hunting, not shooting, right? We do it each man one time. And I'm gonna grab that Mountain Dew if we got one. Yeah.
And you think that this is bad, you're going to hear about the next campaign started. Can't make this up either. And another desperate attempt to win over there, the Harris here. They're building that. Tony said, Willie, it's not as slick as it used to be. And today we're trying to blame Trump for the Florida crisis, which was secure when they inherited it. And they bragged about the 3 years, the border being closed, the border being secure, and bragging about policies that brought us the lowest level of illegal immigration in decades. Bill Clinton, unfortunately, kind of indicted the border czar, Kamala Harris, but they were 12 plus million Harris-Biden illegals from over 180 countries. And Harris says, oh, no, I was taken out of context. But as always, we will report, you decide. Look at this. Listen to what he said about Wishing Fields. Republicans in the Senate kill the bill. Why? You got a case in Georgia not very long ago, didn't you? Well, the young woman's been killed by him. Yeah, well, let's say I'm going to talk to the judge. I probably wouldn't. Yeah. Say I'll talk to the judge. And America is not having enough babies to keep our populations up. So we need it, we're going to set up in to do work. We're not talking. And we couldn't keep them all talking to themselves. The bill was not a border security bill. It wouldn't have even kicked in unless 4,000 or 5,000 illegals first crossed into the country illegally. And then they had the discussion of whether or not they would actually enforce the bill, codifying an open border policy. He's not telling the truth.
On exchange traded. 011-533-2666 if you send an email to Market Hall and Leader University. And there's always my DMs are open. And Instagram, you can send me a message at Bay Street and Mike. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Amber. It's great to be on the show.
So let's talk broad markets, shall we? Questions about rate expectations. It seems like this is a market undaunted, really on both sides of the border. It's abound.
Absolutely. Markets look great. Brent is broadening out. And so it's hard to fight that strength. We should look historically back through the other rate cycles and see what we can glean and see how often we have one of these soft landings. I think that's something that investors should keep in mind.
Well, let's do that. I'm sure you've done the work. What does that tell us about future returns?
Well, interestingly enough, there's been 11 rate hike cycles in the past, and 3 of them have led to soft landings. And we're looking a little bit like that. And that's the case this time. We've had strong job growth. We've got, as you pointed out, a very resilient stock market. At the same time, though, we do have some tightening on it. And, if we do see employment weaken, then we may have a difficult time. So what we're looking for is, do we see the tightening of credit ease, and do we see the employment remaining robust? If so, then all clear for the soft landing. But those things are to determine. We've got some, strong broad job growth numbers, but we have seen tightening credit, and there's no shortage of global strife in the world to trigger some sort of issue that may lead to further job declines. So we want to keep an eye on this. So investors are faced with a tale of two cities, if you will. On one hand, you do want to be participating in this very strong market. On the other hand, you do need to be wary of changing conditions in order to navigate what could be a sharp reversal, which is what occurred in 2001 and 2008. We had optimism, we had strong markets in those markets, and then they were preceded, obviously by significant drawdowns. So, in light of that, investors should be prepared for these potential downside risks and the regime shift
And I think they can do that a couple of ways. We want to make sure that their risk is right, that their equity bond balance is in their risk sweet spot. And then they might want to consider adding things like managed futures portfolios that have low correlation and tend to do really well in traumatic times. And when we talk about, we call it return stacking, but there is a way to stack that portable alpha, if you will, on top of the betas, the stocks and bonds that investors know, love, and trust, and build some of that resiliency into a portfolio. So those are some things I think investors should be keeping track of as we're getting this lovely run in the markets. Don't get complacent.
Well, I guess what I want to sure I'm picking up what you're putting down. Are you preparing a portfolio for a 2001, 2008 style event?
You need to do both. So there's many ways to do that. One of them is, well, step one is to make sure you have those traditional risk mitigators in your portfolio and you don't get too equity biased. So if you're normally, sort of 60% in equities and 40% in bonds, and you're currently sort of 80-20 today, you're a little bit over your skis on this. You just have to make sure that you're okay with that, because it's not like sailing this all clear, looks good, you have to have your finger on the pulse. The next thing you can do is that sort of second stage of defenders portfolio, where you can build in some managed futures type portfolios, which often very well in periods like 2001 and 2008 recessions. And you can layer those on top of your beta. So what we're talking about here is preparedness as well as prediction. So we're trying to predict. You build some preparedness in right from the get-go, making sure that your risk is right and you've got diversifiers in your portfolio. Because it is that type of time where we could see a regime shift, even though the sailing looks clear.
So that might be true. I think this up there question. We've got one, let's see. Asset management, we're taking questions on exchange trading funds. If you give us a call at 1-855-426-6266. You can also send me a message on X or Instagram at these holding.
Taking stock is brought to you in part by Desjardins Business. We speak business. At Desjardins, we speak business.
So you're happy with your expansion? Yeah, it's definitely the right call. Now let's upgrading, which really boosts the revenues. Nice. Time to open the foreign markets.
Because you know what our business? At Desjardins, we have more than 400,000 Canadian entrepreneurs, because we must speak the same language. Business.
Last quarter, Capital Direct investors saw a return of over 8%. Find out why so many people have been trusting Capital Direct for 16 years. Speak to your financial advisor today and ask about the offering the grant.
Canada's largest covered call fixed income ETF, exposure to U.S. Treasury bonds, high and consistent income every month. The Harvest Premium Yield Treasury ETF, trading YT on the TSX.
Watching market calls today on the show, we've got my Phil Britt of Resolve Asset Manager. We're talking about each of the assets, and our first question is coming from Inbox. To hear your guest opinion on Hamilton's U.S. Involvement Markets ETF, does your guest think the dividend is sustainable and have it in a non-registered account?
Yes, I am. And he's the Hamilton U.S. Bond Yield Maximizer ETF. Is that the one I'm talking about here?
Sorry. Let me make sure I have the ticker. It's HBND.
Right, perfect, yeah. So that particular ETF has exposure to the U.S. Treasury bond market. And it is of the long duration type too. So the duration in this portfolio is 17 years. What that means is that the change in interest rates is going to have a very big change in the NAV of the ETF.
So when you have longer duration, we have bigger changes in ETF. Short duration, smaller. So really interesting in that it's long duration, it also strategy. So based on the option premium, so you obviously have bond treasuries, which is usually 4%, but it's actually covered call strategy, which is going to aggressive with a little bit more. So you should look at rather than some variance. There's a thing which is a portfolio to cover the right these treasuries. Yes, where there actually are calls that can be written on US Treasuries. So they add a little bit of extra income. Now, in this case, there's a couple caveats that I want to share with the listener. One is this is a CAD hedged portfolio. So in a time like 2008, when you really wanted your US Treasuries to provide lots of funds to your portfolio of equities as they were going down, one of the providers of that return was actually the difference between the US dollar and Canadian dollar. About half of the returns came from just owning US dollars. So this is not going to give you that as they hedge that back to Canadian dollars. So there's a component that's going to provide a little less of a hedge in times of duress. You should be aware of that as an owner of the product. And MER is about 145, which is reasonable for doing the extra covered writing on this type of portfolio. So you've got that CAD hedge, and you've got 50% of the portfolios covered written with calls. So again, if the bonds go up in price because we've had interest rates go down in price, which often is what happens when we're in an equity calamity, half of the portfolios could be capped in its upside because they're covered writing. So those are all the things that you're giving up in order to garner that extra income. So a pretty complex product, but just you want to know your way around it a little bit.
Okay, very interesting. Let's get an email now from Roger. Can you please give me maybe a little bit more of a straightforward question there for me? I can give you a suggestion for a North American healthcare ETF.
And North American healthcare. So we've got lots of options here, actually. So depends on.
Ano yun? Magyaman si Patusok. Guys, tusok daw. O, ayan. Si Ed Snow.
Out there that I see.
Thank you, Lansal Fedalino. Okay lang. I have to say bye-bye na. 2 hours and 39 minutes. Gawin na lang natin 3 hours, then done. Is na ako. Nasa kusina ako eh. Sige lang.
Well, you might want to pick up a little bit of extra yield. One of the past picks that we'll cover today was the Evolve Global Healthcare Enhanced Yield ETF. Something we'll talk about in space. That's got a much greater yield of over 9%. That's because they do some of the covered writing. So maybe if Roger wants to hang on, later in the call, we'll go through a little bit more of the details of that particular ETF.
Okay, make sure you stay tuned. Let's bring in a caller now. Alan's been on the line from Metro. What's your question?
Yeah, thank you very much for taking my call, Mike. I'd like to get back into the energy sector. I wonder your opinion on energy ETF, EG on the Toronto Stock Exchange. Thank you.
Yeah, so the XEG is the iShares. It's an TSX cap-weighted energy ETF. That is, sort of one of the goats in the world of energy ETFs. We do have some ideas in the top pick as well today, so stick around for our top pick because that is also in the energy sector. So the interesting thing is this is a market cap weighted ETF, so we get a lot of exposure to Civis and Suncor, and we get less exposure to the smaller companies in the index. So we've got an option for something to look at for that in our top picks. But I like where your head's at. I think energy is poised to do well, and particularly the Canadian energy stocks. So, yeah, stay tuned and we'll talk a little bit more about that, Tyler.
Okay, we'll be able to take a quick break with my. So that's 66. Such acting Instagram on Instagram or
So the application. Street next day on question. Choose. 2% all along. It can help you grow what you have and protect personal goals. Choose your own path.
the world of investments is growing, offering more alternatives than ever. Choose an alternative that invests here to stay. I'm just gonna part of our everyday life. Instinctive. Choose proven alternative. Talk to your advisor about it.
So it's a financial approach that just goes together. Kind of like this. Investments in the front, insurance in the back. We do both.
I want this show to be a great spot in your day. I want to share all the good stuff that I have to offer.
The good stuff is very good. Weekdays on CCB and Gray.
Welcome back to Market Call. We're talking ETS with Mike Philbrook of Resolve Asset Management. Our next question is coming from the phone lines. Richard is on one. Go ahead, Richard. What's your question?
Yes, thank you for taking my call. I'd like Mike's thoughts on industrial ETFs in general and Hayes ETF in particular. I'll hang up and listen to his response. Thank you.
That's the Global X U.S. Infrastructure Development ETF. Hayes.
Yeah, and that's benefiting from the increased infrastructure spending in the US. Sort of sitting at the mouth of the government initiatives on infrastructure is probably not a bad place to sit, supporting this construction and improvement, changing systems and utilities, communication networks. So that ETF is ideal for and if you're looking to capitalize on that type of infrastructure growth and modernization, layer on top of that what's going on in the space of artificial intelligence and robotics and the demand for electricity coming from those developments in that world. So yeah, some discussion on that related to uranium later in the topic side. I mean, yeah, that's going to be a place it's done particularly well over the last year. And I would say that strength will continue. The industrials as a sector look pretty good as well. So, that's what you're aiming for. And I think that's not a bad, it's not a bad thought process. That ETF will certainly fit the bill. Well,
My question.
Okay, so it's a little bit traditional flavor, I think. So in Canada, the way that we subdivide those sectors is thinking through international being sort of ex North America. So there's a few different products that are, if you're looking at, weighted, so market cap weight. That means, sort of the company's market cap is going to reflect the size of its exposure. Then, you're probably looking at something like the XCF, that's the iShares Core MSCI BP Index.
nice low NDR of 0.22. BMO also has an MSCI EP index, same NDR. Both of those are very competitive. Vanguard, VTU, they're all, going to give you, the Vanguard's got a slightly different index. The FTSE did on all cap, X North America explicitly. So maybe if it's X North America you're looking for, let's BI and well, gets you where you want it.
I think project feels pretty like from North Bay, go ahead and what's your question?
Hello, member, hello, Phil. Currently, got rid of my floating rate bodies. So the trend bonds, taking up, selling that as interest rates go down and buying it on ETF. So if being free, I would take some equity into. Thanks, please.
No, you got something to be cut on a little bit during the call. So I understand you're looking for an aggregate bond ETF. I would get quite you were selling, but again, when we were talking earlier about the duration of that Hamilton bond ETF, where they were covered writing part of it, talking about the US Treasury 17-year duration and all that, interest rate risk, if you will. And when interest rates go down, it goes up a lot more, and interest rates have come down a little bit. So you're saying, oh, we got a short duration. ETFs in Canada, so now the duration of about 6 years just means during the average of in the bond portfolio. Well, I can do a couple options there. One is, probably granddaddy of them all, the iShares Core Canadian Bond Index ETF, that's XB. So that one is, very federal bonds, provincial bonds, high quality corporate bonds, and so on. If you're looking for something with a little bit of a tax shield, but you might want to look at the Horizons Canadian Select Bond Universe ETF. That's ticker HBB. Now that's an corporate swap, so it's a slightly different ETF. And that is not going to give you those distributions. So they don't anticipate that they will be able to get distributions. So it's a taxable account. It's not like you don't pay taxes, you just defer until you sell, versus the HPB, versus the XPB, where you're getting that interest income as you go. In a registered account, if this was bought in a registered account of some kind, none of that matters. Probably just put the XPB.
Okay, let's bring it in left from Calgary. Go ahead, let's your question.
Let's have your opinion on where Cochrane going, so the Cochrane ETF, Cochrane, so the it's he's going to great time over the last 5 years, and it's peaked up in the last few months, and now it looks like it's another double top. Well, I'm not sure where it's going. We're creating and they'll go.
Yeah. So let's start with just copper generally. So, if we think longer term, 5 years, 10 years out, and you think of all of the things that are happening with the evolution of AI, with the production of power, electricity, and with the electrification of transportation, it's hard not to be bullish of copper longer term. We just don't have the mines developed to produce as much copper as potentially be required with all the changes afoot from an infrastructure perspective globally. I think you should hear credit. Well, we did see some weakness in the job market. We do get a little recessionary type of scenario. When we call copper Dr. Copper, because he's a doctor in economics, call him Dr. for a year. We're in that type of scenario, copper was down a lot. So, maybe as you sort of got this since 2021, you got this long consolidation period of copper. So if you look at the sort of peaks of the price of copper,
1, 22, and at least 24, well, falls way out, just before the summer, giving signals. You might want to look for a combination of lines. That's something where you want to actually that occurs. So again, it's a tricky one, and then let's get to the potential for a reasonable. So if you're looking at this actually, so CPER, sorry, CPER that trades in the US. That's the United States Copper Index Fund. So that again is a slightly different structure than an ETF. It does actually own, copper and exposure to futures copper contracts. So that's where you can get real copper. If you want to look at the stocks, then you're looking at I think Horizons has a copper ETF COP. The Horizons Copper Producers Index ETF, or not Horizons anymore. Of course, that's Global X in Canada, formerly Horizons. So that's one that you can look at for the producers. And that should probably give you some direction. I think you mentioned, I don't know if you mentioned COPEX, but in US, there also lies OPX. And that's the Global X Copper Miners ETF, but that trades in the US exchange as well. So there are a bunch of options. Copper miners are different from copper material. So they have a little bit more leverage, a little bit more volatility, but I'll make that decision.
Okay, we're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back. Checking up on Mike's half back. Stick with that.
What in this environment today is the most important thing that an investor needs? Well, investors have gravitated towards a lot of duration over the years, and we saw in 2022 how that could turn out. And on the flip side, also jump into cash or cash equivalent like GICs, money market funds. While those returns are great today, central bankers have started to cut rates, and that cash flow might disappear up or down at least over the next few years. We think opportunities today are in the middle, kind of a high quality short-term bonds. Active managers can use the tools to generate more with less risk. So what is the yield curve telling you right now? Well, it's an inverted yield curve. That's typical in late cycle when investors are trying to assess the impact of those rate hikes on inflation and employment. So we're really in that stage right now. It's a time where I'd say, as an investor standpoint, we don't know if it's going to be a soft landing or a hard landing or a harder landing. What about ultra short-term bond investment? Ultra short-term bond investing refers to very low duration product, where the interest rate sensitivity is very, very low. And we do have a solution in the lineup that has those attributes: portfolio, high quality, of short-term investment grade corporate bonds, where the volatility is very low, and technically we have neutralized the credit spread volatility. And we think we can generate anywhere between 50 basis points to 100 basis points of full return per year versus those cash sensitive alternatives. If anyone's got a question about what we talked about, so we can just reach out to me.
Time now for a look at past picks in September 12, 2023. And Mike, I think most people considering this ETF are still underwater, but picking your points at important percent of Horizons, the Marijuana Life Sciences ETF H and then J. If I'm not mistaken, was one of the first, right? ETFs that were out there.
Yes.
Time is a nice return of 21%.
So the premise behind the the idea of investing in some marijuana stocks is that when you get an area of the market that has had negative compound returns for 5 years plus, you're in a scenario where you've washed out most of the weak players. And if there's some truth to the fact that maybe, there's going to be a change in that marijuana prohibition, which has been going on with the U.S. elections, U.S. positions, more and more broadly global acceptance of marijuana activities, something like tobacco, and so on. We want to take a look at this because only the very best companies have survived. And I recall when we had that chat and it had run off in the days right before the show, which made it kind of a tricky entry point. But yes, I think you still want to have this as in your portfolio for the longer term. If you got a loss, you might want to consider, and it's in a taxable account, you might want to consider selling it within the 30 days and reinvesting either in the same ETF or replace with a similar ETF, but not the same, probably still not have any negative tax complications from that. But yes, it's a scenario where when you have this kind of devastation in the industry from a cap weighted or a stocks perspective, I think the stronger surviving and the industry is going to have legs. You're in a pretty good position when not a lot of people own it. So if you own it and you're underwater, definitely crystallize your loss if you've got a tax asset there and look to move that around. I would stay patient with this, yes.
Okay, good perspective. And this also dovetails nicely with the caller who wants to know about a healthcare issue. It's involved with healthcare at hand. And ticker life.b on the TSX. And the real matter here, the return 7%, but the yields are up about 17%.
Correct. And you always have to put that yield back in. This is the global health index of the 20 largest global healthcare companies. So it's very large. They're equally weighted, right? And then they write a covered call strategy on about a third of the portfolio. So what I like about covered call writing strategies that don't cover right the whole portfolio is they provide that little bit of income that people are looking for, but they leave the balance, the other 2/3 of the portfolio, to participate in the upside. And I think that's a nice balance. A lot of times when you have these covered call strategies where you're writing calls, what that does is it does cap your upside. So the index rolls through that, you're not participating as much when you've written calls on it, but roll your calls up like that. So when you have an ETF like this that only rates about a third in an area where I think we'll be pretty bullish on healthcare and the enhancements that are going to come from healthcare with respect to artificial intelligence, enhancing our opportunities for the discovery of products and the better delivery of healthcare. I think it's an area that's long-term bullish, and you've got this nice little income spitting up, but you're keeping 2/3 of that upside by not writing it. So I still like that.
Your third one is the Vanguard Communication Services ETF, ticker VOX. This one's done it for me, and it's up there with 40%. It's an interesting ETF, a really big overweight and also that, and then you've got telcos and then which you've done recently. Why this approach? Would you continue to hold it?
I would continue to hold it. This was, what's something that's got the exposure that people are clamoring for. Then, if you have Mag 7 and all the names that we've used to name these very large companies. But communication services is going to continue to expand. Meta's got all kinds of plans, again, in enhancing the experience there. We're going to come back to this AI over and over again. It really is a revolutionary change in the way things are going to be done. And in a communications ETF like this, you've got exposure to those large mega cap companies. Now, I will say, my opinion there is changing a little bit, and we'll talk about that maybe in topics as well, where we're seeing the mega caps, those top 5, 10 stocks and indexes, actually not perform as well as the other, but in this case, let's use the S&P 500, the 490 stock. So we're seeing a broadening of the market. So while we are continue to say this has got great potential, if I were adding things in the portfolio, I might start to add to that second tier large caps because they are starting to show outperformance over the mega megas.
Okay, Mike, thanks so much for a look back at those past picks. They did pretty well. Yeah. Review, so the question and answer period. We are going to take a quick break and we'll do your question and Mike's answers when we come back.
At Genesis, centered around you means reflecting your every move. Like respecting your time with 5 years of vehicle care and providing you with all-inclusive seasonal care, including winter tires, installation, storage, and valet service. This is effortless ownership. This is what sets Genesis apart.
Introducing Harvest high-end shares ETFs. Microsoft, Amazon, Harvest shares ETFs with covered calls, now trading on the TSX. Silver is a 10-year high. Silver goes. Joe Ford, and leverage to silver. We serve energy. Center Wealth Partners, CG Wealth Management, gives the investors at $10 million liquid investments. Contact us today in the conference. It's Canada's first advanced multi-asset ETF with high distribution. It blends multiple equity and fixed income strategy, all in one ETF. BMAX on the TSX. Whatever. Stand up. And protect both. Choose your own path. $10 CTD streams.
To market colleague and talking ETS with Mike Philbrook of management. This one, actually, a couple people asking for insight on this. Can you give your exposure to Chinese technology, particularly through KW ETF, which is the Crane shares CSI China ETF?
This is quite an ETF where you've got some exposure to that very specific sector in China. What you saw in China was a pretty significant stimulus from the standpoint of government intervention from the central bank. And you saw stocks like Baidu and Alibaba do extremely well. You saw Canada go from 0 to up 45%. The challenge in China is it's fickle when it comes to these interventions with respect to central bank. And so we've seen a pretty significant give back on the KWAP. Now, we make sure that you are keeping your risk in check here. I think I would be, somewhat concerned by profits, and I bought it when it was, $24. I probably took it along. You want to manage your risk here because you just don't know what the inputs are going to be to the price. You don't know the decision making of GE and the group in China, and they're going to wake up in the morning and decide to do something and then decide to do something else. And that's not really a sort of fundamental trend.
to create a break in it over the last couple of years, asking that advice, but we've since returned to that peacefully. So how do you careful? Then make sure your position size is smaller, given the risk is greater in this type of, and volatility is greater in this type of ETF.
What about China in general? Another question coming through. Social media channels that Canadian ETF invest exclusively in Chinese large cap stocks that don't necessarily tech exposure. That clarification that it's Canadian, of course, is the FXI. The iShares one in the US. Are there one that you're looking at? Do you like this space?
Well, in Canada, there is one. There's the XEMC, the iShares, MSCI Emerging Markets, all it's ex-China. Sorry, right, so. Yeah.
Bye now. Guys, thank you for coming and for your support. I'm going to end now. Thank you so much and have a good night and have a good day to everyone. Bye.